The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Oh, Born to Be Alive, I can get that message never too many times. I absolutely love it. You're listening to Until Now with Rosie Picar on W4CY Radio, where we talk to ordinary people with extraordinary experiences. This week, however, as I have no guests, the ordinary person you'll be talking to is myself. And for those that aren't aware, my background is from law enforcement and investigations over 16 years, now turned feel-good facilitator. I worked out what I prefer more of and chose to spend more of my life around more of what I feel good with. For those that want to join the chat live, just go to w4cy.com and you can click on the link where it says join the chat live and you get to ask me your questions. You've got me all to yourself this time. So all about me today. No, it's definitely not all about me. But this is where we're born to be alive. We keep forgetting that our lives aren't here to be lived for another. They are here to be lived for ourselves. And we seem to think it's a terrible thing to get caught up in our own self-interest. Now, self-interest is a bad thing in a sense when it takes away from others. However, it's a great thing when it empowers and inspires yourself, because then it can only add on to and benefit others. And I want to draw that really clear distinction on that, because today's message, if I do my job right, that you will become more aware of the unstoppable force that you naturally are. And as I said, if I do my job correctly, not only will you become more aware of the unstoppable force that you naturally are, you'll also know how to direct that unstoppable force more towards what is wanted than, as many of us as human beings tend to experience at times, more of that unwanted circumstances or state of affairs. So the first, especially coming into 2017, is developing that ability to look forward, not back. I've got a question here. Why do we always do for others and not for ourselves? And I guess, culturally, you've already picked up that I'm Australian, not American. Otherwise, I've lived in a part of America that you guys know nothing about. I've traveled a lot of America, so I know my voice doesn't fit in anywhere. Everyone keeps telling me what an accent I have when I say I'm not the one with the accent. You guys are the ones with one. But to my fellow Australian listeners, I obviously blend right in. And if there are words I use as Aussie acronyms or idioms, please just make a comment and let me know so I correct that, because I understand everything I say. I forget that other people may not understand everything I say. And for those that think I'm speaking too fast, no, you're listening too slow. So why do we always do for others and not for ourselves? Well, especially as women, and I can talk quite confidently from the female perspective, having been one for over 50 years, at least in this life that I'm aware of, is that we are ingrained into being nurturing, into thinking of others first, putting ourselves last. We're taught it, even when you catch a flight, the attempt to reorientate this to be more helpful to others when you actually help yourself first. If you take that oxygen mask and you can get air, you can actually then help others. As a cop, I learned this. We were trained advanced driver training to drive in all sorts of weather circumstances and conditions in emergencies to get to help another individual. Now, if we drove outside of our limits and abilities and crashed into a tree, we're of zero help to that other individual, not only were we of zero help to them, but we also ruined our own lives in the process. And people unwittingly do this. They ruin their own lives in the process by sacrificing everything else for another, be it our children, be it our partners, be it our businesses, our careers. And all I'm doing is a slight trajectory shift. It's a slight shift in your focus and awareness to put back powerfully what creates powerfully within your life is your point of attention. Now, we know as being a mother that when I get absolutely exhausted and my child is asking or wanting something from me, I'm not in the best feeling state to respond really well to them. And some people, having worked with a lot of criminals and crooks and those, with a lot of very tough and difficult circumstances, don't respond well at the best of times, let alone at the worst of times with their language. And the kids are at the receiving end of that. Now, those kids are our next generation. They're our investment into our futures. So if we're not putting a good input in there, it's not surprising what their output then is in the world around us. And we get amazed and surprised. Just on the internet recently, I was seeing a few people post comments such as, that swearing is so good, and what's the problem with swearing, and, a good F and a good C, and, it sort of was like a mark of value. And I just shook my head. I didn't even bother to comment on the post because I thought it's a bit like going to a Ku Klux Klan meeting and stating that I love all people. I'm going to get shot down with waves and waves of levels of just rigid beliefs directed at me. And the same with those that are endorsing this particular pattern and behavior. And I can hang around the prisons, and I actually do, because I speak to, as a motivational speaker that I work as today, talk to staff and do training. And that use of that language to denigrate, degenerate, and belittle others does not add value to ourselves. To use an expletive here and there, and again, I'm not to say what's right or wrong for another to do. I simply choose for myself, and I choose for myself not to use that language. It doesn't empower me, it doesn't enhance me, and certainly I wouldn't want to be hearing it from my young child directed at me. And I can guarantee these same people that were saying, oh, it's good to let rip a F, and, one expressed that their child had made a comment saying, nothing sums up my feeling more than a good old F-bomb. And this is a mere child making that comment. And I thought, I guarantee that person could walk past a public school and have a 4 or 5-year-old come out at them and say, move along, you old F and C. And they would be grabbing them by the cuff and hauling them straight off to the principal's office, going, what the hell did you just call me? So somehow we think it's okay for us to do, but not okay for all our little ones to mimic and copy, when all they have is to copy ourselves. So when we learn for ourselves what really empowers and enhances us within our own lives, by taking a pause, taking a break, giving yourself opportunity to have a breather, to recharge. We have fatigue as a number one chronic condition almost worldwide. And I say almost worldwide because I've been to many third world parts of the globe that this is not an epic condition, yet you would tend to think, with their lack of other resources, that it should be. The reverse was true. They had irrepressible energy. Now, you've got to stop and ask yourself, by looking at the results in life and going, well, how come they've got something we haven't? We've got all these other resources, but we're not fulfilling ourselves. We're not filled up. If anything, we're exhausted and we're running on empty, which is the common language that a lot of people use. And again, it comes as no surprise. If you are exhausting yourself day after day after day by running around after others and not giving yourself what fulfills you and feeds you, it's like going to a bank and trying to withdraw from an account that you've never deposited money into. Good luck with that one. It won't happen. So today is about recognizing that you are, as you're coming into 2017, and it makes no difference what's gone before. That's why this program's called Until Now. We've learnt what we've learnt from those around us that have shared the best that they've known up until now. Until now, everything we've sort of handed over to others as being the experts in our lives. and the directors and dictators of our destiny, of where our path, our trajectory, our perceived path is headed towards. Now, that needn't be the case. It's not directed by circumstances. What it is directed by is purely what you are, which is a form of unstoppable energy. Now, I'm going to share, I love my latest book, Cracking the Human Code, and I've written 4 books, so I'm a bit of a prolific writer and I'm a prolific reader. I love expanding my mind, and in expanding my mind, it has helped me to open my heart, because being very left brain analytical and working environments where you aren't seeing the best in people, you're often seeing the worst in people at the worst times and the worst experiences and the worst examples of humanity, you become quite cynical, and you can become quite what's the word? Well, negative. Negative is probably the best choice of words here. And it is a deliberate intention to pull yourself back up out of a pool of negativity where everyone around you reflects back to you what you've become. And I didn't become this way overnight. I gradually immersed myself into more and more and kept paying attention to more and more that did not feel good. And as I paid attention to more that didn't feel good, of course, I naturally didn't feel good. And, at the time I was married to an alcoholic. So that gave me more fuel for the fire, so to speak, of where my awareness and attention was going onto all the problems in my life and all the challenges and all the difficulties. And it's interesting, I wrote an article that says, what price success? And people think success is that moment that you've achieved something you've worked long and hard to attain. Well, success to some others may be what we perceive as success, to others may be what they perceive as not being successful at all. For example, what price did you pay for that success? Was it at the cost of loved ones? Was it at the cost of your own values, your own ideals? What did you do in order to achieve what was so longed for? If you've lost out in relationships, it's no success at all. If you've lost out in your health and well-being, that is no success at all. If you've lost out in joy and peace of mind, that is no success at all. So I guess one question I've been asked is, how do we get to say we have succeeded? My personal definition of success can vary tremendously from another individual's definition of success. My definition of success is that I have the freedom and the power to change at will any condition. So that for me is tremendous, because I know I have the freedom, because I have access to what every other individual on the planet has access to, though it's been kept almost like it's a secret doctrine that, you need a third party to get access to this. What hogwash? You need no third party. You only need you, and you only need the ability to ask. And as you ask, you are answered. So you're understanding and raising that awareness that you are an unstoppable force and it is moving in a direction. Your awareness is what dictates that direction. Your awareness is your attention on what you are paying attention to. I mean, how many of us, we're all given 24 hours in a day, but how many of us actually have attention moment by moment by moment? My child will often be trying to, talk to me and say something as I'm caught up doing something else. And then I'm looking at him going, oh, sorry, honey, I've got no idea what you just said. I at least own that I had no attention placed there. He now knows he has my full attention. Our attention lets us know what we are creating more of within our lives. If you've got more questions, join in the chat, w4cy.com. Click on the join live chat now. And remember to like on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and you can find more about me afterwards. But my background, as I was saying, working in the police force as well as working in investigations, and now working more as a motivational speaker around the globe. And I've done this for over 15 years now, written 4 books on the subject, met with so many fascinating and interesting people that differing people have different definitions of success. One gentleman as a motivational speaker that I've known now for 3 decades, and this person is going through his 2nd bout of cancer. His business is booming, mind you. While his business is booming, he now has the partner of his dreams that loves him and not his money. And he's kept it confidential what he's going through. I'm one of the very few that he's shared it with, because he's aware I was aware the first time. and I didn't share it then, the same as I'm not sharing who this individual is at this point in time. But I said to him in conversation, what is it going to take you to acknowledge the success and live the joy of the moment that you have now? Not now he's getting distracted in working even harder and being even busier and making sure no one's aware of what's happening with him in case his business should fail. And I thought, you're not paying attention. Everything else is failing around you. That is the one thing that is going successfully. It doesn't actually need you right now. You need what fulfills you. And he said, I've got too much to live for at this moment. And I thought, well, that's the greatest thing you've got going for you, is that you've got too much to live for. And what a wonderful statement to wake up with each and every morning. Now, I'm not, like many people on the planet, paid attention moment after moment of how I'm spending or investing every moment of my life. About the only time I ever did that, and I was reminded of it today when someone sent me a Facebook post, of when I actually went to Machu Picchu in Peru. And it was a 3-day trek in the Andean Alps to get up to Machu Picchu at 5,000 feet, I believe it was, off the top of memory. So it's high altitude. Day 1 wasn't too bad of a trek. Day 2 was the peak of my absolute physical ability. It really knocked the stuffing out of me, as we like to say here in Australia. And if there was a bus out of there at any point, I would have been on it. I can tell you honestly, I would have given up quite easily, because it did become so physically difficult and hard. And there are parts that you're actually walking around the mountain. Now, it's not like a path that you're just strolling along. This is cliff faces, and your back is pressed against the wall with your hands either side of you, that you are just edging gingerly, foot by foot, and when you want to take a view of the splendor that you're amidst, you actually have to physically stop, press yourself against the back of the mountain, and hold yourself there whilst you then look around with your head. You don't dare take a step and move at the same time. That was too much to do in the moment and didn't guarantee your success of staying up there on the moment. So that mountain was a great lesson to me of being in the moment. And after over 8,000 steps, that's a lot of moments that I got to pay attention to. And the gift that I learnt in that was that too much of my time is spent in my head, not where I'm currently at. It's in my head, filled with all the stuff that's been stored in my head, the stuff that's been stored there by others, well-meaning others and not so well-meaning others. Those that like to say I was an effing useless, such and such from a very young age. That's why I created the Kick Butt brand, because butt stands for bloody useless thoughts. And for me, because I'd heard useless, useless, useless so many times, I needed to put a positive slant. So useless provided fuel for me in my life towards the direction of wanted as opposed to the direction of unwanted. And often we don't live in the present because of all that's been stored there and entered into our brains. Consider it a bit like the hard drive on your computer. You didn't get to say what programs were put on there. They were actually installed when you got the computer. So often by the time we've hit the age of 7, we've got so many of our programs already installed, compliments of those near and dear and our loved ones. We're a homegrown version. So we actually don't do this to ourselves. It's sort of implanted. And if you've been around ones that love you, you may have some great programs that are loving and supportive and empowering to you. If you've been around people that haven't been so loving, that have been caught up in their own stuff, their own mental quagmire of crap, which I'll call it, because of a lot of it really is, if you're traveling the globe as I do, I hear so many different cultures of so many different beliefs and practices and rituals. And unfortunately, for me, I sit there and I'm amazed at how everything is bought into uncompromisingly and unquestionably. So it's like, young children, they're not born to hate. They're born to love. They are taught and educated to hate. They are taught to denigrate themselves and others. And they learn this from those older, larger versions all around them. Those, fresh on the planet are fresh from heaven. They're the closest we get that we should absorb as our teachers of how to lighten up and live easily and effortlessly and in that moment, something that over many, many years, many of us lose the ability to do. And as we get stuck in our heads, we often keep replaying the stuff from the past. And some of us have got that hurt track going on repeat. It's on a loop. And, then we meet more people that have got their hurt track on a loop. And then all of a sudden we're loop-de-loop, and no wonder we've all gone loopy. It's all I can think as an explanation for that mentality, how it gets ground and traction and then builds upon and gets acceleration and, unfortunately, appreciation. It continues to grow. So working in reverse, if that's not what we're wanting in our lives, there comes a point that the power is with us, and that point of power is in the now. This moment right now, followed by another moment right now, just in case you missed the moment just before, hotly followed by another moment and another and another. So you never miss a moment to be a master. And today's message, as I said, is to raise awareness that you are that unstoppable force, and more importantly, now how to channel that unstoppable force towards more of what is wanted as opposed to unwanted. And that is through the point I call appreciation. So awareness is our power, and awareness is simply our attention. What are we paying attention to? Are we part of the brat pack and the rat pack that likes to criticize and condemn and put down and run down? If so, you've just alerted yourself to where your attention has gone, and what you put the foot on the accelerator, that you want more of this. Head me to this, sweetheart. This is my idea of heaven. Well, it certainly ain't my idea of heaven, but if your attention is on it, that's like a neon flashing light to the universe going, give me more. This is what I love. That's why it's called a present. You are in the present. It is your present, your gift to yourself, what you are putting your attention on. If you notice, I'm probably really passionate about this, and I am, because I see so many people practicing, law of attraction or, different mind strategies, all with the intention of what they're going to get out of it, getting to the outcome. Getting to the outcome is what gets you distracted. Again, it's back to this stuff that you've got stored in your head. The moment is what matters. This moment matters because it is creating, it is accelerating, it is manifesting, it is your point of power, it's your point of persistence and passion. So this stuff works simply by, what is it that I want? Do I know what I want? Okay, if I know what I want and I can put pen to paper, and that's my don't write a New Year's resolution, write your New Year's reminders. Your Rosie reminders to you of what you're looking forward to. You're not looking back anymore. That's been and done. We're just leaving that exactly where it is. The more that you handle dog crap doesn't change it from being dog crap. I use analogies that are mind ones that you can get really simply. Everyone can get a vision of that and understand it doesn't change, it doesn't alter. Dog crap is dog crap. If it's not working for you, it's not working for you. There's time to let it go. That's called a release. As you release, you actually get real ease. And that's the difference of moving from what's unreal to real. So setting your mind first, as in writing out your Rosie resolutions, which are your Rosie reminders of what it is you want. Make 100 things of what you want. I'm not here to tell you what you want. I don't live your life or your experiences. I have my own wants and experiences. And many of them are just that. They're experiences. They're not things. And I love experiences. It's the value of that experience that enhances me. Like recently with my son, who is almost 9, master almost 9. And every year I give him the choice of, he can have a gift or an experience. And he now always picks experiences. And from last year at Christmas, he'd wanted the experience to go parasailing, but he was too young. You had to be over 8. So that was his surprise experience he got from me this year. I wrote a poem to him that he would be getting an experience that would so uplift that as he flew through the skies with the greatest of ease, it would be Mummy dear who would be most pleased. And as I've written the whole poem, from that he can get a clue as to what it is that I've gotten him. And as we were on Boxing Day, flying through the air with the greatest of ease on a lovely thundery day, no clear skies for us. It was grey, it was thunder, it was drizzle. And he laughed and he had the best time because he understood the weather doesn't dictate how we feel. It's the same. Circumstances don't dictate how we feel around an experience. People think, oh, but you don't understand, Rosie. I've just lost the love of my life. Well, have you? Have you met every possible person to know that this was the love of your life? All you know is at the moment, this is the best that you'd ever experienced, and you don't know what yet's to come. Your best is yet to be lived. You haven't got to that state yet. So be excited about what's coming forward for you. Be excited about what you're becoming, because as you become and as you change, as your mind is open, and possibly for some of you, as your hearts are broken, you actually expand. You become more than you've ever been before. And I got the beauty of this in hindsight. I get to look back and go, well, I don't want any of those experiences that I had before, but I want what I've got now. And I really love and appreciate where I'm at now. And it is only from those experiences that I chose to make them opportunities instead of just stay stuck, as some people do in that rut. So write for yourself 100, and I say 100. Some people go, oh my God, 100, that's work. I can't even think of 5 things I want. Well, that's your attention to what you're calling out to in this life that you're living. How sad if you can't even think of 5 things that you want. Yet I guarantee, if I said to you, write all the things you don't want, many people get writer's cramp. They can't write quick enough. I don't want, this person stuffing up, I don't want the noisy people downstairs back again tonight. I don't want, that person running me off the road that happened. I don't want, this extra 10 kilos. I don't want, whatever it is, it goes on and on and on. Now, as I said before, I've seen people in many circumstances that we would think they were very impoverished, yet they felt so blessed. And they felt so appreciative of what they had. Now, your awareness, your attention is dictated by your appreciation. And what you appreciate appreciates, it grows. So some people think, oh, but Rosie, I'm not appreciating when I'm talking about that horrible person. Your brain doesn't make a distinction and difference between whether you like it or not. It simply knows you're paying attention to it. If you're paying attention to it, that is implied that you want more of it. So please get that really clearly. It's your attention to something that is dictating, I want more of this. So if your attention is on pain, difficulty, struggle, that resistance to release, that opposing a feel-good flow, you are in resistance. And as you're in resistance, that is a tug-of-war experience. That is a burden. That is physical overload. That's mental overload. That's emotional overload. Stop doing what you are doing to yourself. Now, others won't like hearing that. They'll go, no, I'm not doing it to me, Rosie. You missed something here. It's this person doing it to me. It's my, partner doing it to me. It's my boss doing it to it's coming from outside of myself. I have no control over that. And that's the argument. That's the excuse that many would like to use. And they lose with that argument because they're putting the power outside of themselves. So yes, there is internal conflict that goes on. However, we also give power to our externals and create a conflict that we then internalize. And that's the distinction, because a fight we can leave that's happening outside of ourselves. However, as we've left it, that fight continues long on into the night in our heads, and we don't let go of that stuff. We're like a dog with a bone. We're still arguing it backwards and forth. We wake up the next morning and we're thinking of better comments we should have said. So release is real ease. We've got to learn to let it go. And I say we've got to learn, when I'm talking about myself, this has been my lifelong practice. It's about what I have to let go of, because I, like many others, was the queen of adversity. I displayed my crown with all my many jewels of hardship for all to see, because it was a spectacularly beautiful crown. And who couldn't then concede, yes, Rosie, you are the queen of adversity. You've experienced more blah than there is blah possible in so many ways. Now I don't even share any of that stuff. You know, people will write books about their blah. I condense it to a sentence, and the only reason it's still included is just for people to have some validity, because if they can't find something to identify with you about, they can't relate. And that's the only reason why I share some of my past difficulties and experiences and challenges, just so that people are aware that I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just fluff and filler. I've lived that reality. And from living that reality, I've now chosen another reality that is far more powerful. Now, physicists themselves know that everything is energy. Nuclear bombs are built based upon techniques of energy transformation and release. Think of that. The power of a nuclear explosion is nothing more than energy transformation and then release. Herbal and traditional medicines also work because of energy transformations induced at a cellular level instead of the atomic level. The results are vastly different. However, it's still just energy transformation. Now, it's important to understand that in science today, we might know the laws or some laws of energy. However, we still do not know what energy is. So every day we are immersed in the unknown, determining what is known. So for ourselves, it's no surprise that there's so much of ourselves that we still don't know and aren't aware of, that empowers and helps us ourselves. I actually had a book printed out from good old Facebook, God love it. And I printed it out to show my son the first 7 years of his life, all the places he'd traveled to and experiences we went to, and it's over 400 pages. And I'm really grateful that I like sharing inspiring and positive messages and things that empower me in the moment to share with my friends, because this book is now, you know, I've written 4 other books, but this one is an additional one that's actually, I find, exceptionally motivational because of all the pictures. It reminds me of positive places, positive things from the past, because if you must look back, only look at what empowers and supports you. And this is a story that I wrote about inspiration from Vietnam that I have to share. And his name was Hai. Now I'm going to say it incorrectly, but it's still spelled Nguyen. So Hai Nguyen, and some people will probably correct my pronunciation later. A young man with possibly the world's largest tumor, weighing in at 200 pounds, needed life-saving surgery to remove the parasitic growth. Friends came together from around the world fundraising for him. And at the last minute, the powers that were at the hospital declined to operate due to the risk, even though a specialist surgeon, which was Dr. McKinnon, had flown from Chicago to perform the surgery for free, and Hai had travelled over a day in immense pain and danger of severe blood loss from tears to that tumour. Like 200 pounds, you know, that's more than most of us weigh. I know it's, you know, almost double my weight. Hai took the impending death sentence with graciousness and immense gratitude for all those that were involved on his behalf. No one gave up and accepted these authorities as the final word, nor did Hai fall into despair. Some 3 months later, Hai was accepted into the French Vietnamese hospital that accepted many cases that others had rejected. And so Dr. McKinnon again flew out, and this time performed the 10 plus hours of surgery to remove that 200-pound growth from his body. At the end, Hai had major trauma to most of his body from the removal of a growth of such magnitude. Despite his obvious pain, he still stayed in pure appreciation. And his words of advice to others in adversity, this is his words: when things happen in life, keep calm. You will overcome it. So as you see, Hai lived these words. His experience gives great weight to their truth. Things always happen in life. The happening is a given. Happenings can be wanted or can be unwanted. And you see, I use very simple terms to place as a basket the infinite experiences we can have that are wanted or unwanted. But the keeping calm part is always our choice. That is what I said, what my definition of success is my freedom to choose. So I'm aware now that I've educated and entrained myself in order to make a better choice. And we don't always keep calm. You know, when a reaction is abrupt, things can happen suddenly. I've had guns pointed in my face very suddenly. Now, often when we've been running our minds in a certain way and our hearts closed to experiences, we keep getting more similar stuff. It's like, imagine tuning into a radio station. Well, you've tuned in a W4CY radio until now with Rosie Pica. You are not getting another station. You're not getting 101.6 hot tamales with Lisa. You know, she's going to be sharing a completely different reality and experience. And those tuned into that will be seeking what she's sharing. Those tuned in here right now are ready to hear the message that I have to share. You are ready to become more aware and pay more attention. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening now. You wouldn't be receiving this message. Those flying at 10,000 feet only meet and connect with others at 10,000 feet. We don't meet with those at 2,000 feet. So these experiences that are abrupt, that occur in the minute, that we may react to from habits of being, and that's all they've been. They're programs we've repeated again and again. They're thoughts we've repeated again and again. They're actions we've repeated again and again. So it acts on autopilot. It's sort of like the keyboard. I hit the K letter on the keyboard on the computer. The K comes up, not the Q, not the T, not the P. Only the K. So these reactions have been instilled within us that they automatically are programmed. Doesn't mean we're stuck with them. It just means we require a bit more discipline and dedicated attention to the moment so that then we can choose. That is the point of power, to take a breath in that moment and actually give thought. Then you are no longer reacting, you are choosing an action to take. And once you get in the habit of choosing an action to take, the next step is you actually get inspired action. So no longer are there reactions. What you get is a feeling of upliftment and inspiration, and you just have to follow that because it feels so wonderful. And your life becomes more moments that feel more wonderful in that moment, and you seek those out. I saw in China an inspiring story of Mr. Chen, and these are his inspiring moments because in his spare time, he patrolled one of their largest bridges for migrant workers who are so depressed that they're ready to jump and kill themselves. So his spare moments were spent patrolling those bridges, and so far, Mr. Chen, who is unknown, he doesn't have celebrity status. He's not who people are making idols of and are almost fainting at the sight of, though I would challenge and say this is the person that we should be if there were one that we were looking up to. He has saved 235 lives just by that action that he chose to spend his spare moments patrolling the bridge. So I heard a tale on television of a man who Mr. Chen had saved. And this man tells of how years earlier, Mr. Chen had fought him off the bridge. So he actually fought him to save his life. And this man had told the story how he'd planned to kill himself to help pay the $50,000 debt he had to save his daughter from leukemia. It was all he could think of, planning on the insurance to be able to cover his family after his death. So not only did Mr. Chen save his life that day, but he helped him with fundraising, and they're now the best of friends today, saving more lives together. So these are the authentic teachers the world needs to see and hear more of, not the self-appointed gurus and the self-appointed celebrities and those with 5 minutes of fame that have words of crud and, dog crap to utter. And I share that because, we see, stars overnight because of the fact that, they held a wild party and had morons there drinking till they fell over and puked. It's sad when my attention gets so immersed in that. Instead, I redirect my attention to those that are doing great things within the world. And we may not hear more of them until we start looking for them. As we start seeking, then we find. And it's not just the words that we speak, it's the actions that reveal the true nature of what's going on within a human being. So we can speak all love, fluffy and soft and wonderful and kind, go home, kick the cat, slam the door in your partner's face and yell at the children. Your actions reveal what you've got going on, and it's not to beat yourself up again. If we did that, we'd forever be stuck looking back. We're looking forward. This is a rosy outlook. We are remembering only what has served us. We are reminding ourselves with all the wonderful people that do exist on this planet. There are so many ordinary people. There were so many wonderful, extraordinary experiences. I've had the good fortune to sit with, Aboriginal witch doctors out in the outback, with the Hopi Indians out there in Arizona, with different celebrities who do have star status, but use that in order to empower and enhance lives of many others. So many wonderful charitable ideas and thoughts that exist here. And it's only when you immerse yourself in more that feels good and find more ways to feel good that you have a lot more to give back out. We started the message with saying that, it is not selfish to think of self. It is self-empowering. And as you empower yourself authentically, you help empower others. And the first place that you have dominion over is your own thoughts, your own state of mind, your own energy, which is an unstoppable force, which is flowing, whether you deliberately and dedicatedly pay attention to it or not. It is flowing. If you choose to pay attention to it, you become more powerful in the moment, and you get to, instead of react, choose and select actions that support and empower and lead you in the direction you say you want more of. If you speak of peace, your actions will match those of peace. I remember being at a protesters rally, and the guy had the peace sign as he's slamming it into the head of another protester. Now, there is no way known that caption epitomizes to me the exact opposite of peace. There is no peace in the person. If there's no peace in the person, there is no peace in the home. If there's no peace in the home, there is no peace within that community and that environment amongst friends and family. So what we give to one, we automatically are gifting to ourselves and to the whole world. So for 2017, I wish for you to look forward, not back. Tell the stories of where you're going, not where you've been. To have a little rosy outlook, a rosy reminder that the best is yet to come. It hasn't been perceived, and for many of us, it hasn't even been dreamed. Allow yourself that full gamut to dare to dream, to dare to allow yourself to experience more. And that's what awareness is, that attention in the moment. It is the art of allowing. It's the art of activating our attention. That activation is incorporated in our appreciation, and just appreciation things by starting small. That glass of water that carries the messages of most of life, of which we wouldn't have life without it. As you consume that water, send your energy, pure, potent, powerful energy, to that glass of water, and know that how it is fulfilling and enlivening you from the inside out. It is a simple act. It's accessible by most of us. And as the mind wants to stir and agitate, and where things are stirred and agitated, there is no clarity. Go back to like the water, where there is peace, there is presence, there is the mind in the moment. As you bring and activate the heart with appreciation and love and gratitude for right where you're at, you're able to keep calm. You're able to introduce more calm, more peace, more harmony, more acceptance, more allowance into your life. As you appreciate it, it accelerates in your life. It's like seeing that red Volkswagen. People will go, I never see a red Volkswagen. Now that I've pointed it out, it's called a reticular activating system. You'll see more red Volkswagens. Today, we're not looking for Volkswagens. Today and for 2017, we are looking for peace. We are looking for calm. We are looking for harmony within. What is within will become without. And it all starts with you. So just in this moment, it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. So I'd like to take this moment to wish you a happy new year and look forward to you joining me next week, where I'll be speaking with more ordinary people that have extraordinary experiences, and look forward to you tuning in and asking me your questions. So until then, have a sensational 2017. You've listened to Until Now with Rosie Pica.